Let's say that one more time. God is good. Say it one more time. God is good.
Well, God bless you. Listen, this is Pastor Ray. I am so honored and delighted to have you to turn this way. We're getting ready to carry you into a message that I preached not very long ago. I think it will bless you, your household, and your family. God moves in such mysterious ways. His wonders are to perform. I want to carry you in, let you listen to this message. We'll be back a little later. Let's go into church. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 28 through 31. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 28 through 31. Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainted not, neither is weary. There's no suching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Look at somebody and say, neighbor, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Thank you so much. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm always fascinated over the ability of God and what God did in bringing mankind to planet Earth. He placed man into three categories. Genesis 2:7, he formed him from the dust of the ground, breathed into his nostril the breath of life, and man became a living soul. He made man what you might call a trichotomous. He is three in one. He is body, he's soul, he's spirit. Body deal with world consciousness. Soul deal with self-consciousness. The spirit deal with God consciousness. The body looks out. The soul looks in. The spirit look up. When he formed him, the body, he gave him 263 bones, 600 muscles, 970 miles of blood vessels, 32 feet of intestines, 32 teeth in his mouth, eyes like cameras every time they flash, take a picture, send it to the brain to be developed. A heart that beat from 60 to 80 times a minute, on an average of 72 times per minute. A tongue with 400 cups that can pick up the sweets and the sours. 20,000 tiny hairs in his ear that can pick up the highs and the lows. Feet with 26 bones. Hand with 27 bones. It is he that have made us. And not only did he give us fixed sails, He placed on the inside mobile cells, red cells and white cells. The red cells are larger in number but smaller in size. The white cells are larger in size but smaller in numbers. The white cells serve kind of like an emergency army. Whenever there's an accident, it triggers the white cells. You hit your hand while working on a project, you will instantly see a swell that will take place. It is actually the white cells rushing to the emergency. The white cells will literally die for the recovery of the wound. After several days, pus will appear. It's actually the death of the white cells. Once the white cells die, they email the red cells and say, we have done our job. The red cells come back and clean up the mess. You are completely healed because God designed it when he made us. They put the mechanism on the inside of us to keep us functioning. He gave man the freedom of choice to make decisions about his life. And many times the decisions we make can wreck our lives because we're not doing it correctly. I'm afraid that we're living in that day and time now when if we're not careful, we're going to wreck our situation. There's a thing called worry that's taken out so many people. Worry have an unusual way of slipping in all of our houses, writing on all of our walls. Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 said, be anxious for nothing. Be careful for nothing. The Greek word is meriamna. Root word of meriamna is meriamnao, which means to divide. In other words, worry have you divided. It have you pulling in different directions. Faiths that go this way, doubts that go this way. Lights that go this way, darkness that go this way. You're pulling yourself apart. And because we are worrying, it starts damaging our physical body. He says the same thing in Matthew chapter 6, 25. Take no thought. Same Greek word, meriamnao. Don't be anxious. Don't stress yourself out. You see, because stress has a way of taking us out and make you get old before you get old. Stress has a way of causing your pressure to rise. When your pressure rises, it causes your arteries to harden. When your arteries harden, it causes you to have type 2 diabetes. When you have type 2 diabetes, it causes your immune system to drop. When your immune system drops, it causes you to easily pick up diseases. And when you pick up diseases, it will cause you to have a disease because you look for the answer in all the wrong places. They did an extensive study, and if you go to your drugstore, you can ask the Walgreens or any of them, the top seller on the shelf is aspirins, BC, Tylenol, Advil. It's because we are wrecking ourselves. We're digging early graves because we're spending too much time worrying about stuff we ought not to worry about. They did an extensive study at the University of Washington, and they said that from a scale to 1 to 200, after you pass 200 in this worrying situation, that you're headed for the hospital. They gave me a list, and I thought I'd share this list with you, and then I'll walk through the text. Things that we put on the Richter scale that cause us to spend a lot of time worrying, get emotional, and get stressed out. He says The first thing, the number one thing on the list that causes you to worry or to be stressed, it's at the death of a spouse. They put down 100, giving you a mark. Divorce, 73. Married or marital separation, 65. Personal injury, 53. Getting married, 50. Fired at work, 47. Retirement, 45. Pregnant, 40. Sexual difficulties, 39. Death of a friend, 37. Sending daughter away, daughter or son, 29. So these are some of the things that we spend time worrying about that can easily take us out. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm looking at some people now. You ain't saying nothing, but you're worried. You're worried over something or over somebody. The tragedy is what you're worried about, it either ain't happened or it done already happened. You see, yesterday is in the tomb. Tomorrow is in the womb. Yesterday is a canceled check. Tomorrow is a promissory note. Talk to me, somebody. And so what you're worried about, it has already happened. It's behind you. Forget it. Philippians chapter 3, verse 13, 14, he said, forget those things which are behind me, and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press toward the mark of the prize of the high calling. In other words, if it's yesterday, leave it yesterday. Stop going, digging it up, and bringing it up over again. I've said this many times. I don't care what you're going through. There are three things you need to remember. Whatever it is, don't curse it, don't nurse it, and don't rehearse it. When you curse something, you become angry. When you nurse something, you become attached. When you rehearse something, it's like the womb healing and you're scratching the scab and starting to bleed it all over again. Don't curse it, don't nurse it, and don't rehearse it. Am I here by myself? So these are some of the things that cause us to wreck ourselves without checking ourselves. Isaiah helps us out. In the text, Isaiah seemed to say to us that God is concerned about your right now. Not just tomorrow, but right now. Everything that you have worried about and are worried about, I want you to put it on the scale this morning, and let's see if we can get it behind us. Because he says, again in Matthew 6, take no thought for your life, that's your future, or what you shall eat, that's your food. Yea, for your body, that's your fitness. Or what you shall put on, that's your fashion. In Matthew 6:19, lay not up for yourself treasure, that's your finances. If I would poll the house this morning, 90% of everything you're worried about, it come under the category of these five things: your future, your food, your fitness, your fashion, or your finances. Jesus said, stop worrying about it. He then said, by worrying, what does it do? If you 4 feet 11, worrying ain't gonna make you 6 feet. Ask yourself, if I'm broke, worrying won't send no check. Worrying ain't gonna put no gas in your tank. Worrying ain't gonna make that contrary child act right. all it do is take you out. You start looking old before you get old. You got gray hairs you shouldn't have to have. Because we are wrecking ourselves. And the person you worried about ain't studying you. They somewhere sleeping right now. Talk, preacher. He come to us in the form of a question. And I mentioned several days ago that there are at least three approaches to question. One is a direct question. One is an indirect question. One is a rhetorical question. When God asks us a question, it is never for information. It is always for acknowledgement. He says to Adam in the garden, Adam, where art thou? It was not that God didn't know where Adam was. It was that Adam didn't know where Adam was. Genesis 4, he asked Cain, Cain, where's Abel, your brother? It's not that God didn't know where Abel was, because his blood was crying from the ground. When he said to Abraham, Abraham, is anything too hard for God? Because God can do anything. He says to Ezekiel, can these bones live? When the woman touched him, he said, who touched me? Am I putting y'all to sleep in this house? God never asks a question for an answer. He asks a question for your acknowledgement. He says in the text, hast thou not known? He said, I've tried to tell you who I was from creation up until now. He said, I've demonstrated my power when Moses was at the Red Sea. Rocks and mountains on each side, Pharaoh's army rushing behind. And Israel thought they were trapped. And I said to Moses, stretch out your rod. He stretched the rod out, the water backed up. Israel walked across on dry ground. When Israel made it, when Pharaoh's army rushed behind, he released the water. And the army got drowned. He said, you know who I am. He said, I'm too omnipresent to be absent. He said, I'm too omnipotent to be weak. He said, I'm too omniscient to be dumb. He said, I'm too right to be wrong. I'm too loving not to care. I'm too exact to error. I'm too pure to be defiled. He said, you know who I am. He said, don't you know who I am? Because there are too many people now, we live like we don't know him. I mean, I heard the psalmist say that I have been young, now I'm old. He said, but I have never seen the righteous forsaken or the seed begging for bread. He says to the psalmist, he said, listen, if you want to know who I am, in Psalms 121, I lift up mine eyes unto the hills from which cometh my help. He said, my help comes from the Lord. He said in Acts 17:28, in him we live, in him we move, and in him we have our beings. He says to David in Psalms, right so they know it, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Talk to me, somebody. He said, listen, he run after us to bless us. He's chasing us to bless us, because he said in verse 6, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my. Ain't that something? God run after us to bless us. He said, I'm sure you know who I am. Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard? And then he started describing who he is with his name. He said, the everlasting God. He called him the everlasting. Is the Hebrew word is Elohim. Elohim is a plural noun. English means singular, mean one. Plural mean two or more, but in Hebrew language, singular mean one, dual mean two, plural mean three or more. And whenever you see God in Genesis chapter 1, he says three of us. He says the Father, Son, and Spirit. See, we are three in one. He said, I'm everlasting. He said, I'm all existent. He said, listen, when the beginning first begun is began. And he said, I was here. He said, before anything happened, everything had a beginning but God, who by definition has no beginning. Somebody said, where did God come from? He had nowhere to come from because there was nowhere before he got here. He has nowhere to go. He's before everything. He's after everything. It just makes sense if I'm going to hang around here a little while, I need to be with somebody that was here before I got here. And that's going to be here when I'm gone. He said he is everlasting God. Then he said, Lord, Yahweh, the Hebrew word for Lord here in the text. He's the self-existent one. You see, I need assistance. I need some help from somebody. I can't make it by myself. And most of us think that we're self-made, but we're really not self-made. All of us need some help from somewhere. To be honest, we're indebted to half the world before we leave the house. If you took a bath this morning and used some soap, you're indebted to the Frenchman. They invented the soap. You take a towel and dry off your body, indebted to the Turk. They invented the towel. If you had some hash brown, you're indebted to Idaho. If you had some cornflakes, you're indebted to Illinois. If you had some peanut butter and jelly, you're indebted to Georgia. If you had some orange juice, you're indebted to Florida. Am I here about myself? If you watch television, you're indebted to China. Y'all don't like me this house. And you haven't even left the house yet. We're indebted to folk all around the world. But above all, we're indebted to God. Because Psalms 100 says, it is he that have made us, and not we ourselves. I don't know about y'all, but I thank God he made me. Why do I need to get upset if God made me? Too many of us worried about the way you look, the way you're shaped. I just don't like my body. I don't like the way I look. You cut all your hair off today, and next week is all down your behind. You just look like to me. You just looking at me. If you're going to put some more hair back on, just put a little at a time. You know, just don't have it this long today and it's rubbing your anatomy next time. Just put just a couple inches each time. Just you know. I notice, especially close to weddings, women always start dieting, start losing weight so they can get in their dress. Oh, I just got to lose 20 pounds. I mean, you punish yourself. I've said this before that I don't know why you do it. If evidently he wanted a plus-size sister if he went with you before he married you. And most time, all the women that hold on to their husband, they fat. We create needless problems that we don't have to have. We worry if we're going to die, and we vegan, we stop eating any meat. But you might well get you some bacon. You ain't going to be here forever. We're going. he approaches us with names. He says, everlasting God. Then he says, the Lord. And then he said, creator. If it's in your Bible, if you didn't tear it out, bara, the Hebrew word for create. God is the creator. You see, there are those who come around and say there is no God. Got to be something seriously wrong with a person. And by way, you have to be trained to believe there is no God. You don't just come in this world and conclude there's no God. Somebody had to teach you that there is no God. But it just looked like to me, common sense ought to say, if there is a creation, then there got to be a creator. If there is a design, there got to be a designer. If there's a watchmaker, there's a watch somewhere. There's a person to make the watch somewhere. Stuff don't just happen. God created. Man can be creative, but man cannot create. Now, I don't try to take anything from man. Every time I get in one of those planes, I thank God for the ability of man to be able to put together North Carolina, put together an Iron Bird, fix it so you can eat breakfast in Memphis, lunch in New York City, attend an evening concert in Paris, France. He's smart. Man is so smart until he walked out and caught and harnessed lightning, changed it into electricity, fix it so you can just touch a button to be warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Man is smart. He went out and he fixed satellite so you can sit in your living room.
Well, God bless you. Listen, we're out of time, but you see we're certainly not out of message. I hope you've been blessed while listening to just a portion of this message. I think the message will be a blessing to your household. Just order this message, 1-800-375-4007, or you can write to the God is Good Ministry, 2237 South Parkway East, Memphis, Tennessee, zip 38114, or go to God is Good Ministry. Love for you to check us out. Be blessed.
Time.